It was the year 2187. The human race had been pushed to the brink of extinction. The Krasians, an alien species feared for their ruthlessness and technological superiority, had come to Earth. Their invasion was swift, methodical, and merciless. It was a war humanity was losing, a war that seemed hopeless from the very beginning. The Krasians' arrival was nothing short of terrifying. Their ships appeared in Earth's atmosphere like dark moons, blocking out the sun. Their war machines were like nightmares, hulking, armored behemoths that unleashed destruction wherever they went. Cities fell in days, governments crumbled in hours. The world watched in horror as the Krasians' massive fleet swept through Earth's defenses with ease. Their weapons were capable of vaporizing entire blocks of cities with a single shot. It was as though humanity never stood a chance. But the Krasians had underestimated one thing: the human will to survive. When Earth's defenses failed, the remaining human forces were scattered. They were outmanned and outgunned. The Krasians didn't bother with negotiations. They simply destroyed anything that resisted. Still, humans fought back in the only way they could, with everything they had left. In the ruins of what had once been Chicago, a small group of survivors gathered in the shadows of the city. Among them was Clara, a former teacher who had lost everything: her family, her home, her city. She wasn't a soldier, but Clara's heart burned with a fierce determination. She wasn't going to let Earth fall without a fight. She rallied the survivors, farmers, engineers, scientists, and even children, people who hadn't trained for war but had something more important: the desire to survive. Together, they formed a resistance cell, operating in secret, always on the move, always adapting. They set up traps, ambushed Krasian supply lines, and struck where the Krasians least expected. Their first major victory came when Clara's group sabotaged a Krasian command post. It was a small win, but it sent shockwaves through the resistance. They had struck a blow against the invaders, and it gave hope to the survivors. Soon, humanity realized they had something the Krasians didn't understand: resilience. While the Krasians relied on overwhelming firepower, humans relied on their adaptability and cunning. They began to strike back not just with military tactics, but with the sheer power of defiance. Clara's success spread through the human resistance. Other cells formed in different regions. Earth became a battleground between the Krasians' cold, calculated force and the fire of humanity's desperation. By 2190, the human resistance had grown from small cells to a united front, the United Human Front, UHF. What had once been a scattered rebellion now had structure, leadership, and strategy. The resistance had begun using guerrilla warfare to inflict major damage to Krasian supply chains, and human fighters had learned how to exploit weaknesses in Krasian technology. Humanity's first major breakthrough came when a team of engineers, led by a brilliant scientist named Dr. Elijah Harper, managed to reverse engineer a Krasian ship that had been shot down during a skirmish. They discovered a major flaw in the Krasian navigation system, a vulnerability they could exploit. With this new knowledge, the UHF launched a series of devastating surprise attacks. The Krasians, so used to crushing their enemies with overwhelming force, were caught off guard. Human fighters attacked their fleets at unexpected times, using stolen Krasian technology to hack into their systems and disable their ships. It was chaos, but it was working. For the first time, the tide of the war began to turn. The Krasians couldn't keep up with the unpredictable nature of human warfare. Their strategy, which had always been to overwhelm with brute force, was slowly unraveling. The human resistance had learned to adapt, to survive, and to fight back harder and smarter with every encounter. By 2192, humanity was ready to strike a decisive blow. The Krasians had set their sights on Mars, the first colony humanity had established beyond Earth. The colony was a symbol of humanity's spirit, a beacon of hope. It was vital that humanity hold on to Mars or risk losing their only remaining foothold beyond Earth. The Krasians launched a full-scale invasion, sending their most powerful warships and soldiers to crush the colony. But the human resistance wasn't about to let it fall without a fight. Clara, now one of the UHF's most trusted leaders, knew this battle would be humanity's most difficult yet. Mars was critical. Not only was it the last bastion of human civilization beyond Earth, but it also held an arsenal of weapons that could tip the scales of war. The UHF organized a large-scale operation, deploying troops, engineers, and scientists to fortify Mars' defenses. But they didn't just rely on brute force, they used every advantage they had. They knew the Martian terrain better than the Krasians ever could. The planet's vast underground cave systems, remnants of ancient volcanic activity, provided the perfect cover for surprise attacks. The human forces dug in deep, using the Martian underground to create hidden bases. They launched guerrilla attacks on Krasian supply depots and ambushed their patrols with devastating precision. It was the same strategy they had used on Earth: hit them hard, disappear into the shadows, and strike again when they least expected it. But the Krasians weren't fools. They retaliated fiercely, launching orbital bombardments and ground assaults. For weeks, the fighting was relentless. The human resistance held its ground, though, refusing to give up. Every human who died on Mars became a martyr, fueling the fire of the resistance to keep pushing forward. Then, after months of brutal combat, the human resistance scored a critical victory. A joint operation involving both the UHF forces and an underground group of engineers launched a surprise attack on a Krasian command center on Mars. They infiltrated the base, planting explosives that crippled the Krasian fleet's central command, causing chaos and confusion. The battle for Mars was won, but the cost was high. Mars had been devastated, and millions of lives were lost. But the Krasians had suffered a heavy blow. They had underestimated humanity, once again, and Mars remained free. The victory on Mars was humanity's turning point. It was proof that humans could fight back, not just as individuals, but as a united force. The Krasians began to realize that they couldn't wipe out humanity as easily as they had thought. The humans were relentless, unpredictable, and refused to surrender. Despite the victories, the war was far from over. Earth, still under siege by the Krasians, was nearing its breaking point. The UHF leadership knew they needed a backup plan. If the Krasians managed to overrun Earth, humanity would need a way to escape, a way to ensure their species could survive. This led to the development of the ARC program, a secret initiative led by the most brilliant minds humanity had left. The ARC program wasn't just a way to escape Earth, it was a way to ensure the future of the human race. The ARC program consisted of a fleet of massive, self-sustaining ships capable of carrying tens of thousands of humans across the galaxy to a distant star system. The ships were designed to be a new home for humanity, one far from the reach of the Krasians. But there was a catch. The program had to be kept secret at all costs. If the Krasians found out about the ARC program, they would destroy it before it could even launch. The UHF knew time was running out. The Krasians were closing in on Earth. The last stronghold of human civilization had become a battlefield, and if the Krasians won this final fight, humanity would be lost. The ARC program was their only hope. By 2194, Earth had become a war zone. The Krasians had launched their final assault, sending their entire fleet to wipe out the human resistance. The UHF leaders knew that this was their last stand. The ARC program's fleet was ready, but it needed to launch before the Krasians could stop it. Clara, now a symbol of hope for humanity, led the final charge. She knew that she had to hold off the Krasians long enough for the ARC program to succeed. The battle for Earth was a desperate gamble. If they lost, humanity would be doomed. But if they succeeded, the human race would survive. The last battle was fierce. Krasian ships rained destruction from above, while human fighters, outnumbered and outgunned, fought tooth and nail to hold their ground. Every explosion, every casualty seemed to push humanity closer to the brink. But Clara didn't give up. She rallied her forces, fighting with everything she had. She wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore, she was fighting for the future of humanity. As the final hours ticked down, Clara's forces managed to breach the Krasian fleet's perimeter, giving the ARC program ships the chance to launch. Under a hail of fire, the ships began their ascension into space, disappearing into the void. With the ARC program's fleet launched, the final victory was bittersweet. Earth fell, but humanity had secured its future. The Krasians, having won the battle for Earth, didn't realize the true cost of their victory. The ARC program's fleet, carrying humanity's survivors, had already escaped to distant star systems. The Krasians, in their arrogance, never suspected that humanity had been planning their escape all along. Humanity wasn't defeated. They had been scattered, but they had not been wiped out. The ARC program's ships carried humanity's legacy far into the stars, to new worlds where they would rebuild. The Krasians would come to realize too late that the true power of humanity wasn't in their weapons, but in their resilience. The human race would thrive again, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The fight for Earth was over, but the fight for humanity's future was just beginning. And as long as humanity stood together, nothing, no alien empire, could ever crush them completely.